All my life I've wished I was that guy. That guy who had the look, the aura, to get girls to love him or even acknowledge me. It felt like all my friends were that guy without real money or success either. A buddy of mine was homeless in Miami until he got a sugar mama. Could you believe it? Wasn't even looking for it. She found him. She's good looking too. Tonight at this rooftop party, I've never needed to be that guy more in my life. A woman stood on the edge of the roof. It looked like she wanted to jump and no one seemed to care. I called the name of my friend who I came with. Oliver, yo Oliver, Oliver is that guy. He could get her to come down. Instead, he shooed me away with his backhand as he talked to a pretty girl in a blue dress. The girl scowled at me and my neediness. Then she whisked him away, and they melted in the crowd of black suits and bright dresses, like a $1 million splatter painting. That's what I did to women. I was the last one you want to get a lady off a ledge. I might be what gets her to take the last plunge of her life. And yet, I shuffled toward her through the crowd. Everyone impresses in freshly fitted New Year's suits and dresses that must be flaunted, and they sip from flutes of champagne that can't be wasted. Every guy ignored me in requesting their assistance. The girls ignored my shoulder taps and excuse me's. I know better than to touch their drinks to get their attention. It's 2 minutes to midnight on New Year's. Drinks and kisses are a matter of life and death. I confront the woman on the edge of the roof alone. Out of breath and struck with the loneliness that only a chilly, windy night and being surrounded by people, but cared for by none, can bring, I spoke to the girl. You really shouldn't jump. She turned to me. The skyscraper that towered above her casted blue light on her skin. A sharp gust of wind whipped her purple dress to the left. It was short. She had to be so cold. I pulled off my jacket to give it to her. What did you say? She repeated. She had an accent, English maybe. You really shouldn't jump. I yelled against the wind now. The breeze knocked her 2 steps to the left, and my heart leaped. Luckily, she balanced herself and laughed as she did so. But when our eyes met again, the joy vanished. Don't get me wrong, she didn't look miserable. Her face held a plain, blank expression. I guess she wanted me to go on with whatever speech I was going to give. I won't lie, I didn't think this far ahead. Life can get better, I told her. That disappointed her. Her blank expression left, and she looked like her duty was to console me. Like I was her child. It's fine. I've peaked in life. I don't want to have kids. All my friends are married with families. I have no desire for romantic love, and I've seen every sight worth seeing. And then she waves me off like Oliver did. Like everyone's done this entire party. Except this time I refused to be waved off. To me, this was important. I leaped on the platform with her so one gust of wind could end both of our lives. Careful, she said. You've seen everything worth seeing. Are you sure? I yelled all over the wind. Yes, her words were clear to me despite her not yelling. Well, then can you show me? She looked disgusted, and I felt every insecurity I've ever had all in that one moment. Every rejection doubled. Then she tested me with her eyes. They strolled up and down my body. No rush, a long, laborious gaze. Okay. The words shot out of her like air from a balloon. She wore a disappointed smile that I didn't know what to make of. Okay, I asked, and I'm encouraged by the strength of having literally saved a life. Okay. The word came out like a hurricane, and she ran to me and swung me in her chaos in an odd hug/dance. We spun and spun. I was no longer in control. She swayed us across the roof until we balanced on the edge. My back faced the city. If I fell, I would be a well-dressed stain on the ground. I fought back, terrified of the 10-story drop and the wind's pull that made my fate seem more and more certain. I pressed the toes of my black loafers into the floor because my heels had nowhere to fall. I grabbed her by her hips to push her off, and it didn't even interrupt her dance. I buried my hands in her sides for more leverage, more pressure, and even more pain. Anything to push her off and save us both. She never stopped dancing. I couldn't stop her. I was caught in her hurricane. The wind was an ally to her. It spun as she spun. My feet left the roof's edge and we fell from the building. We swished in the air. I was breathless. It was surreal. It was unfair. It was 2 seconds before death. Up and down my chest went, faster than I thought was safe. I screamed until she slowed time or spaced down. It was impossible. We floated in the air, every color smashed together to make the world white, except her. Her brilliant purple dress stayed the same in this white world. She gave me her dead stare again. Are you sure you still want to live? There's a cost. It was weird. She said it like a doctor tells a patient they have cancer, ethereally somber. Yes, I did not hesitate. I landed on the earth, confused. Nothing made sense. I have been dead. I have been dead and been somewhere else. The shock of landing should have killed me. Somehow I was crouched. My knees should have burst. I should have been laid out flat, split open. The blue light from the building should have mixed with the red of the innards of my body. The blue light was everywhere that New Year's night. It even painted the midnight sky blue. The light at this new location was not blue. I was somewhere cold. I was cramped. I was naked. I sat at the bottom of 10 coarse stone steps that led to a single wooden door. A bulb glowed too high above me, and its faint glow was the only thing that brought light. There was a bowl with bread to my right and water with a faint brown tint. The room was not quiet. The walls made noise. Skitter scatter. Skitter scatter. Something dripped behind me. My attempt to turn and find out made me realize my neck was chained, as well as my wrist, but my neck's chains were much tighter. I could only look forward and listen to the strange drip and to the skitter scatter behind me. I opened my mouth and my tongue was assaulted by the filth and musk in this room. In my peripheral vision, something shuffled in a cardboard box. Was it a victim of wind, or was it moved by another life in this dank space? Help! I screamed. Help! The door whooshed open. My screams stopped, and prayers were answered. One fat, barefoot entered first. Ankle gone. Arches gone. Toes like little fungus on the swollen mass that is his foot. Next came his other foot, another swollen mass, and together they made the room shake. My neck twitched and pinched back and forth in its chains. I jerked at my chains to escape before this man I could not yet see could help me. He answered my cry, but I did not think he came to help. More of his frame came into view. More layers and layers of impossible girth in his thighs that rolled out of his jean shorts. His thighs looked to be in a constant state of pain white in some parts and pulsing, painful purple in others. Red pimples littered inches of his legs in random bits. He gained speed as he came down those cracking stone steps, as if he was excited. He leapt like a kid playing hopscotch until he was at the bottom, and I saw his full frame. Oh, I wished I'd never called him. He had to be 7 feet tall. His very presence made me conscious of my own body. I was cut from the junior varsity reserve basketball team for my lack of height. His arms were massive, chunky, ill-formed like 2 living, writhing, tumorous hornets' nests. His wife-beater t-shirt could not contain him. He wore it like Kim Possible's crop top. My wrist bled. I knew this man, this thing, wanted to hurt me, and I would not let him. I pulled at my chain to no avail. I did not break through. I want to go home, I whispered to myself and yanked at my chains. I had nothing. I had nothing to protect me. I was so scared I lost all dignity. I sweat enough to taste it. I rubbed my body against the floor in a futile attempt for momentum to escape, so hard that my legs bled. His face was hard to look at. So many scratches. So many human scratches. One was still fresh, blood dripping down his left cheek. Bald, hairless, and smiling, he said, "Your wish is my command." I opened my mouth to speak. He grabbed my neck, wrapped his fingers around it, and the only thing that could come out of it was a small gust of meaningless, pathetic air. He placed his other hand on my naked thigh. It was almost like his foot was all fat and twisted, and his fingers more like stumps, tumors, or caterpillars. But his grip made me give up on my life. A deer in a snare that knows it's dead. Something banged upstairs. The big man turned. Spittle flew from his mouth as he did. "Stay right here," he said, then waddled toward the steps again. Before he took a step, he turned around and laughed. His shoulders bounced and his body wiggled. Then in 2 big steps, he was beside me again, dropped to his knees and whispered in my ear, His hot breath was like a locker room during the summer. This is supposed to be the part where I check out that noise and then someone comes down to save you while I'm gone. But what if I just don't care about the noise? What if I'm romantic and all I care about is this moment? Do you know what that means? He waited for me to reply. I shook my head as much as I could within the restraints. That means, he paused, no one is coming to save you. A blur rushed into the room. It practically flew down. It took the steps in 2 leaps and slammed something into the skull of the large man. The sound of metal against skin rang through the room. The big man did not collapse. Bang, bang, and bang again was what it took to drop him. The girl from the roof, still in the purple dress, was my hero today. In seconds, she pulled the keys from the man and thrust them into the locks. I had so many questions for her and so much thanks. I'm sure it all waterfalled out of me. She did not respond to any. She merely grabbed my hand and we were gone. Literally gone. We appeared somewhere else in 3 seconds. We arrived in a changing room, and for the first time since she rescued me, I became aware of my nakedness. I covered my bits and pushed my back against the wall. I'm so sorry about that, she said. Why did you bring me there? I was trying to help you. It wasn't on purpose. There was no defensiveness in her voice, just as a statement of fact rather than anything else. What are you? What was that? He told she had fussed. My mouth was dry. I was so confused. The girl in the purple dress reached toward me. I leaped back. Her hand went past me and grabbed a water bottle, a fancy brand on a silver plate. She pushed it toward me. I shook my head at her. She opened the cap and drank a chug herself. See, just water. She sat down, crossed her legs, placed the water between us, and waited for me to drink. It was such a change in atmosphere. The perfect lights are built into the ceiling above us. The gentle music of Miley Cyrus in the background, and this strange girl. I still had my questions, still had resentment for her, but my world shifted. This girl wanted nothing. If I had sat there for an hour refusing to drink the water, she would have sat there with me. Not especially happy about it, content. I took the water and devoured the whole thing. So, I asked after placing the water bottle in the trash beside me. The dressing room was too nice to litter. You're just not going to answer any questions. You're going to toss me in an Old Navy dressing room and expect me to be happy. Old Navy, this got a reaction from her. Her eyes bulged and her lips tightened. A sense of disbelief was all over her face. You're in Louis Vuitton. She pulled an iPad off the wall behind her. This is today's catalog. Pick what clothes you want. I'll grab them for you and then tell you what I am and what just happened to you. Oh, and don't forget your lunch order. When you spend as much as I do, they deliver food. I suggest the omake sushi. It's locally sourced. Anything else? Your wish is my command.